So Sahit unfortunately had some technical issues, so I will be here today moderating the session together with you and Yannik. Just wanted to check, Yannik, can you hear me well?
Yes, I can.
Fantastic. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, wherever in the world you are. And of course, thank you today for joining us with our second keynote speech of day 3 of SpaceGen United. And together we have the pleasure to have here with us Yannik Dubois. And he's the international recruiter for the space sector within Hachi Space. So Yannik Dubois is working within Hachi Space since 2019 as an international recruiter. And we have the extremely pleasure to have him together with us. And as you know, please, if you have any question or answers from both Zoom or YouTube, please send your questions on the chat and on the question and answer session on both YouTube and Zoom. And then once Yannik will finish his speech and this session, we will go to ask all your questions that you have. So Yannik, floor to you, and welcome again to SpaceGen United.
Thank you very much, Davide. So let me change my screen. And now I'm hoping that everyone can see. So like Davide already said, so my name is Yannik. I'm originally from Switzerland and live now in Germany since September 2018. So, and I'm a recruiter again, as he mentioned, since June of last year at HE Space. Prior to HE Space, I've been working in recruitment and also in HR in different industry, which helped me or to have a holistic understanding of this function, and hopefully to give you also the participant and the viewers best or the best way or the best solution or the best tips to prepare your next interviews. So today I will talk about a little introduction on HE Space, who we are, and then I will go on the type of interview you might get, how you should prepare your interview, and then I will go a bit even more deeper in the topic and go on the different type of question you might get, and at the end I will give you tips on how to prepare or to answer those questions. And at the end, again, we will have a Q&A session, which should last about 30 minutes. So, HE Space is a recruiting company. I'm not sure if you can see well my screen, so I'm just playing with that. HE Space is a recruiting company specialized in the space industry. We provide human resource and services to different customers such as ESA, Ariane Group, Airbus, Defense and Space, and EUMETSAT, and many more. We have been in the industry for nearly 40 years. Our founder, Scott Millican, and still CEO of the company, has been working on the Apollo mission 11 to 17. And I think that's the reason why we all are here so passionate about space. At least that was one of the reasons why I joined HE Space, because I mean, being able to join a company who has a founder who has a so deep knowledge and history with this sector made me even more passionate about it. We are located in different locations in Europe. We have our main office in the Netherlands, in Noordwijk, to support the biggest customer over there, ESA, which has STEC over there. We have a second office this time in Germany, in Bremen, where I should be sitting today. Obviously, I'm in home office due to COVID. This is more to support Airbus and Ariane Group, and we have a second location in Germany to support UMAT site in ESOC, so again ESA, but the operation center in Darmstadt, very close to Frankfurt, for those who know where Germany, a little bit of Germany. And we have now quite a new office in Toulouse since the 1st of July. So it's very nice to see us grow. And all those other blue points we have on the map are location of our customer or employee who are working there. So yeah, you can have a good understanding or feeling of how widely we are located. But we are not here just to talk about HSpace today. We are here for you to, and in order for me to give you some tips on preparing your interview. So you will have two types, I would say, of interviews. You have the screening type of interviews, which are lasting usually 15 to 30 minutes and will be done by a recruiter, most probably, like me. Or you might have a more technical interview, which will last a bit longer, more 45 minutes to 60 minutes. There, the chances are very high that you will have at least one representative of your the team who you will be working with, or your manager even. Those interviews they're more technical. Sometimes you might have an HR person for more administrative questions, but those questions are usually answered in the screening type of interview. During the screening interviews, most probably it will be a not a face-to-face interview. It will be more a phone call or a Skype interview or whatever Zoom meeting. And in the technical interviews are most probably a face-to-face. But obviously with COVID-19, video interviews have been also a big standard. And I think it's also quite standard when you are hiring people from across the globe for various locations, and it makes way more sense to use that. So don't be surprised if those interviews tend to approach more to video interviews, those technical interviews. But obviously the beauty of having a face-to-face, you have also the chance to visit the location where you will be working. But for you as a viewer now, when you are preparing an interview, you should have read, assume, your job description before you applied. I know it's not everyone is doing it because I see the CVs, and I know that not everyone is doing it, but I think it's a waste of your time and of the recruiter if you are not reading it a bit more in detail. But when you read it, it's not just that. Try also to understand what are the points mentioned in there. The next point I would like to give you also to an advice is really to check the company you are applying to. This is also a good feeling for you. When you apply, probably you will have phases where you will have applied to a lot because you are either unemployed or because you are looking for a new job because you are not satisfied in your current job. When you applied and you have a tendency to apply to a lot, try to create a list of the position you are applying to, as it will help you to better manage when a recruiter is contacting you, to have again an overview of the position you applied, and try to have a screenshot, a PDF, or whatever you feel free to have it, but that you have a copy of the job description you applied to in the past. I'm saying it because you will feel much more confident when the person will ask you a few questions. If the job description is not anymore online, which is most probably going to be the case, as the recruitment process might take a bit longer and sometimes positions are not online anymore. So if you can come back to this position, you are way more prepared, and you will feel less embarrassed to ask the recruiter to ask, oh, could you send me again the job description? That might be a bit feeling you a bit less prepared and less professional. Other websites you could do, or other sources you could check are like social media, obviously, but also any news you can find online on the company. This is more for a deep dive when you have not a screening interview, but more a face-to-face, like a technical interview. And then you have also the opportunity to check sometimes the interviewer. Go on LinkedIn to find it, yeah, but don't contact the person. Do your job, screen him or her. No need to do any further contact, because it might not seem very appreciated. Here I have again a link for you to go and have a look on other way on how exactly you could decode a job description. And this will be also true for the rest of the presentation. You have a link regularly there for you to join, and assume the presentation should be shared in the future, but I also can at the end share it, at least for the people on Zoom, to have those links if you are interested. And now why is it not working? No, it's working. The next slide would be on the preparation for the interview. Another aspect which is interesting for you to prepare is to know few admin stuff. This is mostly for the screening interview. It's good to know your notice period on top of your type of question you might have. Have an idea, general idea of a start date when you could be able to start, especially true when you are moving around to a new country, like I did, because visa process takes some time, and finding the apartment in another country might also take some time. So depending on if the company can provide you also with relocation support, this might be a bit easier. But if you are completely on your own, try to organize yourself a little bit of a buffer in terms of maybe being there a few more, maybe a week if you have the luxury to do it. I did it with only the Saturday and the Sunday before my work started, so it was okay, it was manageable, and I know people who are doing it. But by experience, I can say it's way more interesting to have a few more days before, because you have a lot of admin to do. Another aspect which is interesting to check is also salary. I know salary is not the most important aspect, but have a general idea on what the salary structure are in the country, especially when you're again moving abroad. I come from Switzerland, where the salary structure are quite high. Moving to Germany, where I knew that my salary would be much less, but I also knew that the living costs are much lower. I knew that because I had the chance to do my studies also in Germany. But a good way also to check it, you have those two websites, those two links to find nice information. And in order to find the salary structure of the country, you can go on Glassdoor. The salary there are sometimes a tendency to be a bit higher than the reality, but it's always a good start to have at least the range where you could be. And if you don't find exactly the company you are working with in exactly the same title, I mean, I'm sure you are clever enough to find out similar company who have similar title to find a general idea on what's the salary expectation for those positions. Okay, that was the preparation for the interview. But what happened when you are in the interview? When you are in the interview, you will have different types of questions. The first type of question are fact-based. Those type of questions would be most probably in both interviews, like a screening or a technical interview. The goal there is really for you to feel a bit more comfortable to get it, because those questions you can prepare a little bit in advance, and sometimes those questions are also the stuff you should know, because you know your CV, you know your experience, so those are quite easy. Like, tell me about yourself, present walk me through your CV. Those are easy questions for you to prepare, and yeah, those should not be an issue to present yourself. Don't go too much in detail when they ask you, walk me through your CV. Don't go too much in detail in there, but yeah, walking through, like, give the main steps which you think are most important for it. The next type of question are behavioral or hypothetical questions. Those are for the recruiter or the interviewer, I would say in general, to understand your personality on a situation, how you would react to certain type. An example, I will come back to this example a bit later. How would you react if you found out your boss was doing something illegal? That could be a very interesting way of screening your personality as a candidate. Obviously, different type of hypothetical question might be also available. You can find them online, but I mean, it's not the purpose to go over all types. Today, it's really more for you to have an understanding of how it could work. Then you have the unexpected questions. Those are the, I would say, sometimes famous questions from Google or a big firm when they ask you you don't understand why they ask you those questions. There it's again to understand your personality, but also and mostly to understand your thoughts process. So, okay, would you rather live on the moon or on Mars? Okay, my answer would be maybe, I don't know, Mars, because I think it's a very interesting planet. It has a lot of similarities with Earth, or based on the research we have so far, it has more similarities with Earth, and therefore I would be interested to go there to even explore even more or whatever. The idea there is really to understand why you chose that reason, not just a blank answer. It's really to understand the thought process. Which books you've read? Yeah, this can be useful for your personality to understand. Okay, sometimes you're reading more like because you are so much passionate about your stuff. Don't lie on those stuff. It's really more for you for the recruiter to try to understand, okay, who you are really without you trying to cheat. So, and you don't have a right or wrong answer. And finally, the last type of question are the follow-up questions. Those are especially for a recruiter or a technical or manager who ask you a question about maybe it was not clear what you were saying, and you want more clarification, or maybe he wants to have your explanation on the certain software or skills you have were okay, but he wants to know more about it. So if you feel that you don't understand why he's asking you a follow-up question, it's always nice to ask him, okay, how much detail do you want more? And this is also, you have to understand an interview is not just one person asking just question to you, it's really also trying to have a conversation. I understand it's not always the case, but we have a tendency to have those conversations now and not just the interviewer asking questions and the interviewee answering those questions. And now I would like to start a bit more on how you should answer certain type of question. So you have a STAR model, which STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. Those are very good. It's a more thought process or a metrics you could use to answer behavioral and hypothetical question. Again, you have on thebalancecareer.com a very nice article which go a bit more in depth if you want to have a reading aspect and you don't just want to watch me telling you about it. But yeah, that's you can find it out. I was mentioning at the beginning, in the slide, on hypothetical question, I will go back on this. How would you react if I found out your boss was doing something wrong? I will do today the interviewer and the interviewee. So if someone asked me this question, my first, I would listen. I would be surprised, obviously, by that kind of question. And then I would try to figure it out and ask the interviewer, does he have any particular situation in mind, or should I go completely on my own with the imagination? If he says, oh, yeah, you go freely, then I would take a situation and hypothetical question. Okay, today I'm a recruiter, so I will go on a recruiter example. My situation would be that the HR director of a company, of my current company, says I can only hire certain people when they pay him at least 1,000 euros, and I should always, I cannot continue any recruitment process if the money is not in his private account. My tasks there were to inform my HR director as soon as the money transfer was done, and my task would be there to do that, and then continue the recruitment process. My action would be there to most probably to go, but that would be my honest answer now, go to my the boss of my boss, like the CEO of the company, as we are taking the HR director, and going also to the police or any legal aspect and say, okay, this is happening. And by saying that part already, I'm already saying that I would go so externally. Maybe the company might not like that aspect of me going externally because they don't want to go public, and obviously going public with such case could be very negative, bad press for the whole company, and they don't want that, and they would expect me to never say something like that and would prefer just me to go directly to the company. But maybe the recruiter analyzing then this answer would also say, okay, no, his situation is so extreme in a certain way, we could allow that, and we think it's actually the right way to do it. And then the result would be me saying, okay, I'm resigning if I realize that my CEO is actually not doing anything and is actually okay with the action of my HR director. And even more, my second result would be to even be a witness with to any court if something like that should be prolongated by legal action. Again, that might be again a situation they would be surprised or they would not like it to hear, but maybe they would also be happy to hear, okay, I would send my resignation only if I realize that the company is backing that situation. I could have also said directly in the action after telling my boss and going out to public and sending also my my resignation. That could have been also my action. So you will see that this is really more in order for you to help to structure your answers. This example is obviously quite extreme. I'm quite sure you will not have that kind of question, but you never know. You could also have a situation, okay, you say, the person is asking you that question and you say, actually, I had a similar situation in the past. Are you okay if I'm telling you more about it? So you could also go on that way if it's more a hypothetical question at the start. So that's a bit my example, through an example, how you should or could answer a hypothetical question. The last type of advice I would give you on how to reply to a certain type of question is the elevator pitch. The elevator pitch is the idea there actually is to, for salespeople, to be able to get in an elevator, and at the end of the ride, that the person knows about your project, or in our case of recruitment, the idea would be you go in the elevator. At the end of the ride, the person who is with you in the elevator know who you are. This is the idea there. Why I'm saying you could use that to answer a certain question. This is especially true for the first type of question, like when you are preparing yourself and saying, okay, walk me through your CV or present yourself. This is a very good one to give you advice on how you could prepare that to be still short and on your answer. For example, I did it very briefly at of the presentation. At the beginning of the presentation, I was saying, "Oh, I'm Yannik. I'm from Switzerland. I live in Germany. I'm a recruiter for 1 year now with AG Space, and after prior to that, I was in HR and in recruitment in other industries. I'm here to help people to better prepare themselves for interviews. It's quite simple. It takes about 55 seconds to answer, and hopefully it should stay in mind of the person who is asking you the question. Again, there you have a link for you to be able to have more details on the elevator pitch. Good, and that would be it from my side on the presentation. So I'm free to go to the Q&A part. David, yes?
Yes.
Rita?
Yes,
perfect.
Fantastic. Yannik, thank you very much for your presentation. And honestly, I got also lots of tips from my side. So it was really interesting. Thank you very much, Yannik. And I'm sure that also our delegation here got lots of inspiration from your speech. And in fact, we have really lots of questions for you, Yannik. And I will start from some Zoom questions that we got from our delegation. So the first question for you, Yannik, is the following from Zarina. She's living in Sweden. And the question is, hey, Yannik, before applying for a position, would you recommend contacting the hiring manager for an informational interview to figure out the company before the formal interview process?
It's difficult to say. You can do it if you have a very specific question you want to ask. But if it's just for you to make sure that your CV is really going to be reviewed, I think you can really trust that the recruiter or the hiring manager is going to really read your application. In all the company I worked, all CV, all application were read really by the recruiter. It's not a machine doing it. So usually when you have an application which match really the position, you will be contacted at a certain point. Except if they have a lot of application and they have a great application, better application, you might have no chances. But contacting your hiring manager can be done, definitely. I mean, on tools like LinkedIn, you have it here. I just had it during the weekend. I had a quality and insurance engineer. Was looking for that, and I had my name in there, and I had quite a few people contacting me. The problem is sometimes I have the time, sometimes I don't have the time. In my case, I had 100 applications. I had about 10% of the people who contacted me. I tried to answer to all the message, but obviously, depending on the position, you might have so many people attracted to a position that a recruiter cannot then answer or cannot take the time, and will be more annoyed by this application, by this way of working. But I think it's also very nice to try to have this person in touch. And if you are lucky enough that the position or that the recruiter or the hiring manager is not too much in stress, I mean, that could be a very positive start. Yeah, it's a long answer, but I hope it's a good answer.
Definitely. Lots of details that are always important. Thank you very much for your answer, Yannik. And so I have our second question that is coming from Luca. And the question that he asked is it correct to ask for feedback for unsuccessful application?
Yes, definitely. I mean, you will have companies who are stating it at the beginning, that they know that they receive a lot of application. If you are invited to any type of follow-up of your application, asking for feedback why you were not successful is always should be there actually in the reasoning why you were not selected. In the case that you are not you send your application and you receive a feedback without having even have any interview, any interaction with anyone, you can definitely ask the person to give you an answer. I'm not sure if he would take the time. I usually try to give to come back and give my feedback. I did it with a few people. I came back and helped them also to rewrite a little bit the CV to be a bit more appealing. You might get those type of recruiter, but you might get the type of interview recruiter who have so many applications. And like now I have like a period where I have a position which are very attractive and therefore have not a lot of time to dedicate to a lot of people on extra stuff. But if I'm in a period where I'm a bit more time, I'm always more than happy to help the person to give them an answer on that type of question. So yes, feel free to ask for feedback, especially if you have been involved in a bit further recruitment process, like they ask you to fill the further documents if they had a screening call with you. Yes, there definitely you should ask for feedback why you were not successful.
I agree completely. Thank you for your answer, Yannik. And yes, I got also from previous job applications that I did, some feedback that I got were really useful to me as well for my future applications then. So I completely agree. And so perfect. Another question that we got is from Florian from France. And the question is, what are your tips about making a spontaneous job application?
Have a CV which is not too long, over I would say a 2-page CV. The 1-page CV, I know it's quite famous or quite used. You can use it to a 2-page or 2 pages is enough usually, and be able to stay in mind of the person. And then when you are doing a spontaneous application, do also a good motivation letter, like not the generic one. Really try to stay in the eye of the person so that he remembers your application. Yeah, so that's really trying to do that. Another way would be also to contact someone, company, and try, okay, explain that's the situation, why I'm sending the open application. For instance, we have it here at HSpace. If someone is willing to send an open application, we have actually link on the web page where you can directly go and you open an application, and then we review it and save it if we consider it good to our database, so we can contact you for further experiences. But for instance, if you are applying and you open an application for an internship, nice of you, but we don't have for type of engineering stuff, and therefore when you come back, you don't have, depending on the type why you are sending an open application, calling might be also an option, because the recruiter can advise you how to, if they have any specific rules on how to deal with those open applications.
That's a really great answer. Thank you very much, Yannik. And another question that we got is from Savri from India. And the question is, from your experience, what are very common mistakes that a candidate makes during an interview?
The person is not listening to the questions. I have that really, or sometimes the person is talking. I know I'm someone who talks a lot, and that's also a good reason why I'm here as a recruiter and doing a presentation. But when I'm asking a question like, could you walk me through your CV, and you start to talk for 20 minutes, it's it's not very good. So yeah, talking too much during an interview, like, understand that this is a conversation and you should not do a monologue during the whole time. Another type of stuff, what happened, let me just think about it. I think the next one are more like on your CV directly. If you, I don't know, if I'm asking you a question on your current experience or last experience, and I realize that your CV is either not up to date or has a big mistake. I just had it with one candidate. The person wrote 2016 instead of 2020 on his current experience. So I was completely lost in his CV and I was not understanding. So, but that's not really a question of the interview. Again, I'm someone who is more flexible on that type of mistake, and I am willing to give a chance. I understand that stress can, stress by not having any job might force you to send a bit more rapidly any type of application. But yeah, I think the talking too much is the biggest issue. And I know I'm talking too much, so no problem. So yeah.
Yes, I understand. Thank you very much, Yannik. And it's true. It's always important also to be concise, no, straight to the point sometimes, because it gives also an idea that you studied, I think, in advance also for the interview.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I have people who had a very good. I had this example today. It was a software developer. He asked me, okay, should I go more in detail? And I said, no, thank you. That's sufficient for me, because my level of understanding was already reached. And for this person, he would take 5 more minutes to give me a more detailed answer. I will take those 5 minutes. I will learn something, but I might ask him then a follow-up question because I didn't understand, and he might feel, okay, why am I explaining that again, because it's too basic, and he or she is losing then time of explaining more detail. And actually this question might be again asked by the technical recruiter a bit further in the recruitment process, and they might feel, okay, I actually already replied to that question or went already quite in detail on that point. Why do they ask me that again? And basically the reason why they ask you that question again is because you didn't really listen to the original question, and then lost.
Yes, that's a very great tip. I completely agree. And thank you very much as well for your answer. So another question that we got as well on Zoom is from Julie. So the question is, hello, Yannik, do you have any recommendation to which question I need to ask at the end of the interview to the recruiter?
You have the very easy question. If you have really no question, I have always the simple question of asking, okay, what's the team size, or that type of question when you are really unsure. But usually when you are doing your search, especially on the job description, decoding the job description, it might be the case that you have actually just a question on, I don't know, you don't understand what is a section. For instance, for in my case, we're always talking about section at ESA. You might not be sure, okay, what do you mean by a section at ESA, or that you prove that you've done your search on the job description, and you can try to ask that. But again, if you don't have a question, those simple one, okay, ask for team size or general aspect on the team or the work culture or company. That can always be good. And if you have something very technical, and you can try to ask it. If it's a recruiter, he might not be able to answer you, because I mean we have a certain knowledge on certain stuff, but we are not in everything. But you can ask also those type of question, and maybe the answer will be just, I don't know. And if you have really no question, the very simple question is to ask, okay, what's the next stage? Usually this question is not a need to be asked, because the recruiter, if he's doing his job, he will bring up that point in the interview. But yeah, you could have this question if you have really no question.
Yes, that's a valid answer, and it also shows interest from the candidate about the position. Yes, absolutely. And so another question that we got is the following one. So considering that a recruiter usually takes less than 1 minute to take a look at the curriculum, how would you recommend a candidate to stand out for a competitive position?
You have, I think online you can find good template. You have different type of CV. I don't agree only on the I think the average we find out on how quick a recruiter is reading a CV. I think it's the reason why they're asking you that. They're asking that is because you also receive people who send application which aren't, but we know sense why you are receiving it. And by just seeing the, okay, I don't know, I'm recruiting this quality insurance position, but focused on electronic device, and then I receive a Q&A expert, quality and insurance expert in software. And I'm like, yes, you have the same title, but again, why software? I'm not looking for a software guy. So I can dismiss it quickly, this application, his or her application. I'm not taking the time. That's the best way to avoid that, is really to read your job description, making sure that qualification and your experience are in line with it. You understand you have sometimes position or company, which, and especially now I've seen that recently quite often on LinkedIn, or colleagues or people are posting it. Someone with 4 years of experience in a specific tool, and this tool exists only since 2018 or whatever. This makes obviously no sense, but you have sometimes by the type of task they ask you to do, you will also have a feeling on, okay, are you too junior on that position, or am I way too senior for the position? That's kind of stuff. So really, I think that the best way is to read your job description at the beginning. Take the 3 or 5 minutes to read the job description, make sure okay, it's a fit with your skills and experience. And then the CV by itself, I prefer, and I would really advise everyone to send a chronological, so that the experience you have or you have been doing now as a working experience is on top, and the last experience you've been doing is the last one. It's not, because I mean, I'm not interested to scroll 12 pages to know actually your current position. I want to see your actual role. And in terms of if you are a student still learning, most of the cases what we are saying is put your education first, and then your work experience, if you have internships or some stuff like that, below the education. But as soon as you are not anymore in the education aspect and removing to working, then put the experience on top, and the education. At a certain point, the education will take less and less space on your CV. When you have 5 or 10 years of experience, you're having a master degree or a bachelor degree in whatever direction. It's nice to have, but the experience you have gained in the past is way more important than just a master degree or PhD or whatever you've been doing.
Yes, that's a really valid answer. I completely agree as well. Thank you very much, Yannik. And another question that is coming from Leonardo. So, do you also have positions at HSpace also for fresh graduates that do not require work experience?
No. So as I mentioned, at HSpace, we really have, I think for fresh graduate, the best way are to try with either an internship or a traineeship or a fellowship or whatever it's called in any companies. They all have their different name, YGT for STEC or whatever. Those type of positions are usually hired directly by the company and not through a contracting company like HSpace. And at HSpace, we have a few positions. When you have really no experience, we have, I would say, almost never position like that. We have, I would say, we have a customer at the moment, I would say Airbus and the Ariane Group, not just those two, but in general, the industry customers, which are going through a contracting company, have a tendency to look for a bit more junior people, and the organizations such as UMETSAT or STEC, ESA in general, look for people who have a bit more experiences, like more 3 to 4 years of experience on top of any internship. So I would say that's how you should look like. But if you have really no experience at HSpace, it's gonna be difficult, I would say, to find a position. But sorry, feel free to send an open application. We'll review all of them, and if we consider it good, we will keep you in our database and contact you if a position similar to your profile come up.
Yes, exactly. Also because, you'll never know, no, in life, maybe some positions really opens for that specific candidate, and it's really important also, no, to keep
definitely.
Yes, I completely agree. And another question we got from Charlie, especially during this challenging time that we're facing everyone, for video interviews then. So what advice do you have from your experience for sounding natural during a video interview?
Sorry, for the video interview, what do you, could you just repeat the question?
Yes, which advices do you have for sounding natural during a video interview?
I have no idea. I mean, yeah, I would say, yeah, I mean.
Or what are you searching from a candidate, you know, maybe to sound less interested?
So sounding natural, I mean, when you are doing an interview, it's already not very natural to do it. I mean, you are trying to sell yourself, so understand that you are never completely natural. Obviously, the recruiter is on an easy spot there because, I mean, we do it on a regular basis, and we are quite natural there. But for the recruit, for the person there, I mean, be natural, be like you would be on a normal face-to-face interview with a person. Stay formal, I would say. Don't be just like, I mean, you don't have it in English, but be informal in a certain way of talking to the person. But yeah, feel relaxed. And in terms of video interview in this challenging time, a good advice is really to make sure to have either a decent internet connection, but the most important part is to make sure that your sound is okay. So like having headphones, whatever you are using, and be in a room or a space which you don't have too much background noise, so that you are, or if someone is calling you, like a recruiter is calling like now, because I want to schedule an interview and I'm reaching you and you are in the middle of the street or in public transport, just say, okay, sorry, I'm in public transport. Do you have 5 more minutes, or do you have a few minutes me to be in a more quiet place? So quiet place, I think, is the most important part when you are doing a video interview or any interview. And sounding natural, I have no good advice on that. It's by doing it, you will learn it, and at a certain point, you will have so many interviews behind you. Or any type of interview.
In fact, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Yannik. And so that was our last question for today, as we are getting closer to the end of this keynote speech. So first of all, I want to say thank you very much, Yannik, because I'm sure that you provided lots of important inputs also to our delegation, to our delegates, and also on YouTube. So again, thank you very much for joining us today.
No problem.
Again, it has been an inspiring pitch and lots of the useful tips. And of course, on behalf of SGC, thank you very much for joining today at the SpaceGen United, the first SGC Online Congress. So thank you once again.
Thank you very much also. And for those who have still questions and I could not reply to them, you can also contact me on LinkedIn. It should not be too difficult to find me there. And I will be happy to try to reply to your question. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I'm stressful weeks because I have few positions require a bit more effort than usual. But with time, I will come back to all the questions you might have. You might ask me if you ask me on LinkedIn, anything. So yeah. Thank you very much, Davide, for moderating this this call, and thank you also SpaceGen Limited for the invitation. It was a real pleasure to walk and do this keynote for everyone.
Thank you very much. Yeah.